Have you noticed that there have been high-profile substitutes missing really important penalties recently in football?
And this got us wondering, should you actually bring a substitute on just to take a penalty? And what might the psychology behind it be?
I'm Bradley Bush.
I'm Matt Shaw.
And this is the Sports Psychologist Breakdown. When you look at the substitutes who have recently missed penalties in high-profile matches, be it the England players at the Euro finals or recently in the Premiership, one thing you notice is they're all really good penalty takers. Their success rate is all over 90%, which is way above average. So clearly something is going on that makes people miss when they come off the bench. And when we look at these sort of penalties, this is what caught our eye.
Every time there's a penalty shootout, we find it fascinating that there's always some pundits or some fans that are really quick to jump on the idea that there's actually no science at all behind penalty shootouts and they're kind of luck of the draw or like a 50-50 chance. Now, of course, we know that's just not the case, and we've actually already produced 2 videos for you which explain the science behind penalties. But what about this time? What about when subs come off the bench? What's the psychology behind it? Well, we think there's actually 5 things that you need to know about the psychology of substitutes taking penalties.
Scoring penalties actually isn't about technical ability. At this level, all athletes are skilled and talented. It's much more about how effectively can they manage their stress and pressure. And we know when players come off the bench with the one job of taking a penalty, it massively increases their stress and pressure on them. And that's why more of these players tend to miss than score.
When people are stressed, we know that the part of their brain responsible for making good decisions doesn't work as effectively. And in sport, we see this all the time, particularly in those high pressure penalty situations. And if a player can't make a good and accurate decision, then it makes it really difficult for them to take the perfect penalty, which often means they go back to bad habits like poor execution. This is what we call in psychology reinvestment.
So, what can you do if you are a substitute who's been asked to take a penalty? Well, we at Inner Drive think it's really important that you have both a physical warm-up and a mental warm-up. So a physical warm-up means that you're not coming on cold, and a mental warm-up means that you feel calm, cool and collected. A good physical warm-up, even in a short space of time, should mean that you have a little bit of a sweat on. And I think a mental warm-up contains thoughts and feelings about the things you can control, the things you need to focus on, and what really matters, and not the situation or the outcome.
If a player is going to come on only to take a penalty in a really pressurised situation, then we think it's really important that those decisions are made way in advance of that happening or of kickoff itself. So conversations with the leadership team or with the players about what their roles might be. And it might help that way that the player can then start to focus on their process of taking a good penalty as opposed to the outcomes or the what-ifs.
And lastly, Matt mentioned in that previous clip a bit about not focusing on the outcome. And we think in football, outcome bias happens all the time. An outcome bias is when we judge the quality of our decision making based on the results. But because football is such a low scoring sport, sometimes it's tempting to think if we win, everything is good, and if we lose, everything is bad. So a substitute taking a penalty and missing doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad decision. And if we can weigh up the quality of our decisions based on the information we had at the time, over term, that's all we can do to help improve performance. So there you have it. Hopefully now you know the psychology behind why some substitutes miss penalties, and if you do ever have to come off the bench, know how you can increase your chances of scoring.
So let us know in the comments, do you think substitutes should be brought on just to take that important penalty? And of course, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe as well for more sports psychology breakdowns.
Bye.